The role of parents in youth sports. Our objectives today are to discuss the importance of youth sports as well as analyze the potential positive and negative impacts of parental involvement in youth sports. Finally, we'll describe how coaches and parents can work together to create a positive environment for athletes. Youth sports are a microcosm of society in which children and youth can learn to cope with the realities they will face in later life. Development of desirable physical and psychosocial characteristics. Some of these might include leadership skills, self-discipline, respect for authority, cooperativeness, sportsmanship, self-confidence, just to name a few. Health and fitness are also gained from youth sports, and youth sports can create a foundation for a healthy lifestyle. Youth sports can also increase the bonds of social networks and family units, not just amongst themselves, but with other families, other parents, and so on. Here we have Small et al.'s athletic triangle, where the athlete is at the tip of the triangle, and the coach and parent are working together as a team in order to help support and lift up the athlete and give them the greatest experience possible. So you see that all three are connected, and the coach and parents must have an understanding if the athlete is to reach their potential. Parental impact is huge. When a child enters a sports program, parents automatically take on some obligations to help their children grow through sports. They may not always be aware of this obligation that they are taking on, but they do. It's inevitable, and if we can educate parents as coaches, as consultants, then they will not feel the burden to be as heavy as they might otherwise. Parents will not only influence children's socialization into sport, but they have a profound impact on the psychological consequences that accrue. Some challenges that parents might face. Many children don't want to play and participate in sports, so pressuring, intimidating, bribing them into playing is not the best approach. In some instances, their parents' influence can become an important source of the children's stress, a major primary source of the children's stress, really. When parents professionalize youth sports and put excessive emphasis on winning, it becomes easy to lose sight of what the young athlete needs and what they are interested in and trying to get out of the sport. I like this quote. It really stood out for me. When parental love and approval depend on adequacy of performance, sports are bound to be stressful for the child. Pulled from the Small et al. Article. Winning is not everything, and parents will often say to the coach, yes, we understand winning is not everything, but, you got to win. And so if a parent allows sport to come between them and their child and the love that they have, then sport becomes detrimental to everyone involved. The reverse dependency phenomenon is quite interesting. It's where parents will identify with their children, obviously, and want them to do well. And sometimes this degree of identification becomes excessive, where the child becomes an extension of the parents. When this happens, parents begin to define their own self-worth in terms of their son or daughter's successes or failures. So here we have a picture of the frustrated jock father who either himself was a very successful athlete and might reject the child if they are not up to their standards, or they were unsuccessful as an athlete themselves and would like to live vicariously through their child. The parent-child dyad is significant. The parent has the responsibility to accept the child's disappointments. They can, given their maturity, they can help the children see the positive side of each sporting situation and change their child's disappointment, frustration, what have you, into self-acceptance. Refocusing the child's goals is important. Trying to refocus them to an effort-focused philosophy of winning is a core principle of the mastery style of coaching and environment and motivational climate. So effort should be emphasized and not so much winning and other ego-oriented goals. Parents should be reminded that they are important role models for their children's behavior. So if the parent is upset and frustrated and disappointed, then the child will likely react the same. As they say in my culture, the child is a mirror of the parent. And so the parent must look at themselves before they can look at the child. Sports also are very helpful in that they offer an introduction to the major parental challenge of letting go. If a parent is able to practice through this not so serious experience, then they will have an easier time when they're older, moving on to college and whatnot. One of the studies explored the parent's passion for sport and the relationship that this has on the children's self and task perceptions in sport and exercise. The results indicated that parents who value sport activities were more likely to develop their children's passion towards those activities. Children's perceived competence and intrinsic motivation in sport participation have been linked to the frequency and type of feedback received from parents. Many parents might not be aware of the nuances of feedback, but increasing their awareness, understanding the positive to negative ratio, the sandwich, the compliment sandwich, things of this nature can definitely help that dreaded car ride home after many of the games. The findings were consistent with the assumption that parents do indeed influence children's perception in sport and exercise. Another study examined the parental involvement in youth sports and how it increases the family bonds. The results showed that parents who become engaged in youth sport at an early age use the context of youth sport as a vehicle to teach their children life lessons. When coaches and consultants are able to educate parents have, as in this study, parents embrace their emerging roles and were reflective about their own development as parents in the context of youth organized sport. The coach-parent dyad takes a look at the coach's role in relating to parents critically and how this can affect the consequences of participation for young athletes. Too many times it's a one-way street. The coach communicates, the parents listen, and the parents might have a lot to say and they may have their own experience. So being open to their thoughts and their ideas and inviting them into the coaching setting will help the camaraderie of the group and minimize any undermining of the coach's beliefs. Parents do obviously have the right and responsibility to inquire about all of the activities that their children are involved in. And so by keeping these lines of communication open, the coaches, the parents, the children, everyone will have a more rich experience. A lot of times, I know you all have experienced this as well. The coach can be blamed, the teammates, the team, the organization, but many times it's the difficulties in the relationship between the parent and the child that actually undermine the positive effects of a good sports coaching program. And so making sure that the parent is aware that perhaps it's not everyone else, but their own relationship with their child and athlete, and this can lead to some profound changes. The coach-parent challenges is the most common is the difference of opinion, which we all have. Parents, though, also tend to have issues sharing their children with the coach, where they should be accepting of a coach's authority and the fact that the coach may gain some of the admiration and affection the child once directed solely at the parent. This is something I've personally experienced, and it can be challenging. Many parents are not ready to let go. They see their child as the little boy or girl that they raised, and have a tough time adjusting to the new circumstances. And yes, as mentioned before, if the parents are going to undermine the coach's leadership, then it is best not to have their child join the program. As we finish up here, we'll discuss some coaching opportunities because coaches are in a great position to channel parents' genuine concerns and good intentions in a way that heighten the value of athlete sport experiences. In order to counteract the reverse dependency phenomenon, a coach can explain the over-identification process to parents, and this should help them be more aware of this phenomenon. Coaches can also act as role models for parents through their praise and encouragement of the athletes. Like many of the top coaches, John Wooden, Bill Walsh, Bill Belichick, Phil Jackson, then parents can learn that this is a style of feedback that is quite effective as well. In team meetings, coaches should, and this is difficult to control a group of adults and have their attention and lead a discussion, but it's best to actually draw the parents into the discussion rather than lecturing them. There is the suggestion to ask questions and request questions from them from time to time. Coaches can also share with the parents about their own experiences in the sport, their special training, their credentials, in an effort to increase credibility and authority and trust. The key takeaways you should have learned from this presentation is that parents should be encouraged to view their involvement in youth sports as an integral part of their parenting responsibilities. Parents can enjoy their children's participation more if they acquire an understanding and appreciation of the sport, something that the coach has a responsibility in educating them and informing them and enriching their experience. Finally, coaches and parents should be part of a team trying to accomplish common goals.